Hello, Frizzle Fighters! When I was reading the second book of the Sandman Slim series, I was starting to get a little bit like, maybe this series isn't as good as I was expecting from book 1. And then I read book 3 and I was on board, and then I read book 4 and I was a little less on board. And then by the end of book 4, I realized that it's a masterpiece. So here we go with my review of books 3 and 4. But really we're gonna do more like discussion analysis because I've got a lot of thoughts here. In books 3 and 4, Aloha from Hell and Devil Said Bang, we have our protagonist, James Sandman Slim Stark. He's battling various forces of evil, etc., but that's not really my focus here. Because in these books, Stark also goes back to hell, which is where he was unfairly imprisoned and made a slave slash gladiator slash assassin for over a decade. And now, through plot reasons, he has to go back to actually do things there, and this is a mixed bag of emotions for him. We also see him dealing with his burgeoning romance with Candy, and dealing with a split personality-ish problem kind of caused by angel interference and kind of caused by a zombie plague. So let's get right in, shall we? First, I would like to discuss the two halves of Stark's personality. In book 1, these halves were fully integrated, normal personhood. And then, because of aforementioned zombie plague, also some angel blood, etc., Stark got split in his mind into two distinct personalities. One of them referred to as just normal Stark, and one of them referred to as the angel half, sometimes St. James. And it's not like one of them got 100% of the courage and the other one got 100% of the logic, but it does kind of split that way. St. James is very good at planning, at critical thinking, at solving mysteries, and at not being addicted to things. Oh, and also the impulse control, I think St. James got most of that. On the other hand, Stark got the addictions, but he also got the sense of loyalty, and I feel like also the sense of duty, the need to go save the world when it needs saving. He got the bravery, he got the will to go and fight. So then we have these two halves. Honestly, Stark cannot be a completely competent protagonist without both of these halves. And yet, through book 3, Aloha from Hell, our narrator is the human side of Stark. And he is constantly pushing his other half into the background, not wanting to listen to his ideas, no way, because he sees the other half as the weak half, and he is in the driver's seat now. You see, the human side isn't the best at seeing the big picture and seeing how he needs the St. James side, but whatever. And then at the end of the book, through various plot things, these two get physically separated into two distinct bodies. Also because of plot things, at the end of that book, Hell needs a new ruler. And because all the other competent people are gone or dead, Stark turns out to be the ideal candidate and someone needs to run this place. So because he's the half that has, you know, the sense of duty, he stays, and St. James is like, I'm out of here, I don't want to stay in hell. And then as we go through book 4, Stark is less competent in a lot of ways now that he's missing his St. James angel half. He's much worse at planning, at impulse control, at negotiating, at solving the mysteries. But on the other hand, when St. James pops by, he's not super interested in helping out. He doesn't seem to have that duty of like, oh, the world's in danger, we should go like help that out right now. He'll do little do-gooder acts, but he's not interested in the main plot as much. But St. James, he's the planner type, and he knows that they need to fuse back together. So he makes the offer to Stark. Stark turns him down, because it's like, no, you're my weak side, and you've been a jerk to my friends. And what I find so fascinating about these developments in the story is, one, we get a better view of Stark's personality, of the different sides of it, of how he can change. And this will also become a point of introspection for him in the future books, which I love. But we have also effectively depowered our protagonist. And this doesn't really happen that often in series. This is often the problem of ongoing series. Is, of course, you want your heroes to get power-ups, because that makes them even awesomer, and you want to give them a reward for completing the plot arc. But if you just keep making the hero more powerful, eventually there won't be things that they can't handle, and then you don't have any stakes. But throughout book 4, Stark is severely psychologically depowered. He's really not that good at planning anymore, and this is making it way harder for him to complete the plot. And so, by depowering Stark, we're raising the stakes. We're giving him another problem to solve, which is gaining the motivation to merge back with his other self, because he needs that in order to complete the larger plot of solving the mysteries. And it also gives us a rich way to explore the themes of this story, which is like the good and bad halves of people. And even with human Stark and St. James, it's not distinct halves. They both have good qualities and bad qualities. But throughout this entire book, it's Stark learning to acknowledge that he needs both. That he can't just be the killing rampage monster, and he can't just be the kind of pacifist angel. And I think that also ties in to kind of the joy of doing what you're good at. Because at this point, what is Stark good at? Stark is good at being a monster. Stark is good at violence, intimidation. That's his skill set. He's not a very competent ruler of hell, but he could do that in a pinch. Temporarily. So for him, it's more comfortable just to stick with that. But that's not the most great problem-solving strategy for everything. He needs a softer side. He needs to be someone with some impulse control. He needs to be someone with some higher problem-solving skills. And in the end of this book, even though he's admitted to himself that he needs his other half back, when it's actually time for him to accept the merging, he's very reluctant about it. Because he still sees his St. James half as the weaker half, but really just wants to insist that's the truth. Because he knows, really, that he's weaker without that half. And then when they finally do get merged back together, it's not like the narration suddenly dramatically changes, but Stark is more patient, more introspective, more willing to think through things instead of just giving back a quippy answer really quick. And this ties in to a thing about Book 4's plot that I didn't like the first time around, but the more I thought about it critically, the more I really loved. Because a lot of this book feels kind of wandering, kind of slow-paced, kind of without a plan. And when I was first reading this book, for like the first third, I was just waiting for the inciting incident. Yeah, we were in hell, and there was some political intrigue, and that was kind of exciting, but it wasn't really like Act 1 of a plot. It just kind of felt like, yep, we're doing things. These things are sure exciting. And yeah, we did get some fun world building, but like, come on, where's my inciting incident? And I thought that this was going to be a negative part of the book for me. And it was for a while, until I just accepted it. That this book isn't concerned with having a driving engine plot plan. And then I realized, and I sure hope that this was done on purpose because I think it's really clever, that it feels like the plot structure mirrors the psychological state of Stark throughout this book. That he is lacking good planning skills. He is lacking that executive functioning that you need to make a good plot. He is just, for a lot of it, stumbling from one incident to another. So even the structure of the book reinforces this change in Stark's personality. And so this book was really clever with that, and I liked it a lot. Because it feels like the plot, the structure of the book is missing something, and it's because Stark, our protagonist, our narrator, is missing something. And now let's get into my complete joy in these books, which is Stark's relationship with Candy. Allow me to consult my notes. It just says, Candy, 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 I ship them so hard. But let's get a little deeper than that, shall we? Candy is a semi-reformed kind of vampire monster. She's trying not to kill people as much, but she's still kind of down for a fight if she needs to. This makes her a fantastic parallel with Stark, who is also a kind of reformed monster, trying not to kill, but really willing to do so if he needs to. And what I love about their relationship is that there's genuine care, they're very mature about it, and they are great emotional and psychological supports to each other. So pretty much the perfect couple. And one of the ways that Stark really realizes that Candy is like the girl for him in these books is that he also encounters the kind of ghost of his dead ex, who he was very in love with at the time, but she hasn't met him since he went through hell. And she is not comfortable with who he is now, with all of his very rough edges he has accumulated. But the thing is, Candy is comfortable with all these rough edges, and she's also encouraging him to smooth him down a little bit, because they're both supporting each other in their trying to be a little less monstrous campaign. Let me give you an example where Stark is supporting Candy, because I loved these scenes in the book. Stark and Candy are going off to intimidate some people because of various plot things. And this conversation escalates to one of these drug lord people pulling a gun on Stark and shooting him. It's not a bad shot. Stark can handle even a bad gunshot anyway through magical healing stuff. But this sets off Candy, who, as aforementioned, is a kind of vampire monster thing. And she completely slaughters the gunman. And Stark has to calm her down, pull her off, get her to not hurt anyone else, de-escalate the situation. And he could be completely judging her and telling her, why did you do that? That was completely unnecessary. It was just a little gunshot. I was totally fine. But instead, he's telling her, like, thanks for protecting me. I did get shot there, and your response wasn't a very bad one. That he's not trying to shame her for her rough edges there. But then, later, when things have calmed down, he also encourages her to get help because he sees that she's having trouble checking her bloodlust, encouraging her to smooth down some of those rough edges. But their love and care for each other is kind of unconditional. They're not on quest to go fix each other, they're just improving together. And even when the relationship gets a little rocky because he's gone for months in hell, she thinks he's dead, gets a new girlfriend, etc., comes back, oh, you're dating someone else now. It's still a very mature relationship where they're talking through their feelings with each other, where they're slowly working through stuff. And I really appreciate in this relationship that the tension in it isn't derived from cheap melodrama, bad angst, etc., but there is always some fun narrative tension driving it and making it more interesting. But the fact that it's not immature fighting between them makes it a lot easier to always root for them and ship them, and I am in love with this couple. Comment with a motorcycle emoji if you made it to the end of the video, like if you liked this video, and please subscribe if you haven't already for more awesome book content. Thanks for watching!